Okay, guys, do you have any idea what you've gotten yourselves into here? Hopefully not, because you've thrown all those expectations out the window, right?
Yeah, and you've written down your intentions, right? Because we did.
Mm-hmm.
And as promised, here are mine. I'll go first. Okay, and actually, I have three. One, honor your trust. Two, grab your photography by the shoulders and give it a real good shake. And three, not have a full on domestic dispute
Well,
while the cameras are rolling.
like, what's the point? We're getting the same shot. You're just in my way.
We're upping our chances.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it.
Just go.
I don't do this to you, babes.
I can do it. You want me to do
No,
it?
no.
Okay, sorry.
I just didn't know
Come
what
on.
was wrong with that.
Nothing was wrong. I just thought we might want to say it one more time.
Okay. And by the way, your breath really smells right now.
Sorry.
That's going to happen. Well, they might cut that out, but that's likely going to happen. Okay, my intention is very simple. My intention is to actually give you everything that I can in this 14 weeks. You know, we often define how well we've done at a wedding based on how bad the wedding hangover is the next day. I'm sure you guys all know what a wedding hangover is. Well,
But if you don't, it's basically how you feel the
the
morning
day after a
after
wedding.
a full-on wedding where you've given it everything you got
Yeah.
and you feel like you've been run over by a train the next day.
Yeah.
Right?
The worse the wedding hangover, the more we did within our power to just give that wedding all we could, right? And it's the same with workshops. Like, actually, workshop hangovers are way worse than wedding hangovers. But the worse the hangover, the better the workshop. Okay, so I want to have like the worst hangover at the end of this week of filming ever.
What the heck is two-man you? Well, it is literally 7 years in the making for us. That's how long it's taken us to distill our experiences as photographers and educators down to the core lessons and to hone our methods of teaching what we do and to figure out what we as photographers need to be doing to make better art.
Yeah, and I mean, we're still learning that, right? We've been super lucky. You know, we've been teaching these in-person workshops all over the world for 7 years. The first installation of the workshops were distastefully called Balls Out. That was the original name we had, which wasn't exactly appropriate. We had to get rid of that.
Yeah, but Balls Out, of course, wasn't that name had nothing to do with there was no sexual connotations. It was nothing to do with male sexual anatomy, okay? It was basically about going full throttle, pedal to the metal, everything we got. And that's where the phrase balls out came from the old steam engines. When the engineers wanted to go full throttle, they would say, let's go balls out, because the balls and the pistons would actually,
Would come out of the
steam
pistons.
would lift them up.
But
okay?
you only ever found that out once you had to win an internet argument and you Googled it. So
But
anyways.
we named it that because
Yeah,
that's
but then
what
we came up with a better name.
we did.
We came up with a better name, which was metanoia, which is a Greek noun meaning fundamental change of thinking, transformative change of heart. And that really gets at the essence of what these workshops were all about, right? That tiny little shift in perspective that could change everything.
Yeah, and we fucking loved those workshops. Okay, those in-person workshops were magic. And really, this owes everything to that, because that's where we spent 7 years puzzling out how to do this as best we can. Because as awesome as those were, we knew we could make something even better.
Yeah. Because those workshops were 3 insane, very long days. We would literally share everything we knew and everything we felt about photography in 3
Insane
long days, like 16, 17-hour days. And I think on some level for the participants, it was like drinking from a fire hose, right? Because we had to fit everything we knew into those 3 days. And it didn't allow the time for it to really sink in. It didn't allow the time to practice the skills as much as we'd want to. It didn't allow the time to fail, which is such an important part of the process. And it didn't allow the time to just sort of sit and absorb and just be with the material.
Yeah.
Let it marinate.
And so with this, now we get to drip it all in gradually, methodically, with the space and time for it to swirl around up there and form new synapses and really sink in. Now, we feel that we've created here a framework that's more conducive to deeper, profound learning, okay? As long as you commit, like fully commit. Ask yourself, am I doing this or am I doing this? Because if you're not ready to change, you're not going to change.
And really, the biggest thing we can all do to improve in our photography is invest in it. And I don't mean investing in fancy new gear or prisms or fancy lenses or SLR cameras. I mean, invest in yourself, right? And the world often separates creatives and non-creatives. Like we say, oh, you're a creative person or you're a non-creative person, but we're all creative, right? The only thing that differentiates creatives and non-creatives, so-called non-creatives, is that creatives don't leave their creativity up to chance. They give their creativity nurturing. They give it time, they give it space, they give it room to shine. So you've already invested the money, okay? Now you just got to invest the time, okay, and the mental headspace to make it count. I literally want you to take a page in your notebook and sign a contract with yourself right now, okay? And that contract states that you will carve out 3 to 4 hours a week to dedicate your full, undivided engagement with this course. Make that time distraction-free. Treat that time as if it's sacred. Treat that time as you would a university course where you go and sit down in a lecture hall for 3 to 4 hours a week. Don't become one of the stats, okay? The 97% of people who purchase an online course and never finish.
Or worse, they kind of watch it in the background while editing or culling or cooking dinner, okay? You are here with us now because for whatever reason, maybe cost or the timing, flights, wait lists, the alignment of the stars in your universe, you never attended one of our in-person workshops.
Or you did, and you're back for more. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. But for those of you who didn't, not poor you, lucky you. Because even though those workshops had all the in-person awesomeness, we've actually figured out how to replicate and even improve on that experience here. Because we're not confined to 3 days in just one physical location. Okay, so you're at an advantage. You're in the comfort of your own studio. Maybe you're in your pajamas, which actually wasn't out of the usual at our workshops, come to think of it. But you're on your own time here. Okay, you can drip this in at your own pace. And we're able to show you some things here we simply were impossible to do at an in-person workshop. Okay, so this is an unprecedented opportunity, really. So don't fuck it up. We want you guys to milk this thing for every last drop. And so here's how you get the most out of this journey. 1, fucking do this. If you want to get at least what our students got out of our in-person workshops, then you gotta commit like they did.
Or most of them did.
True.
There was the odd person. You know, we could always tell who was going to grow and change from the workshop. And we could tell when there was someone in the group that wasn't going to. Which brings us to rule number 2. The photographers who really grew the most at our workshops were the ones not distracted. Okay? They weren't distracted by their phones. They weren't distracted by social media, emails, client requests, family dramas. Right? If you want to actually grow and change here, then you got to tune in 100%. Okay? And the only way, I know this through experience, guys, the only way to tune in 100% is to tune out 100%. Okay? Put your phone away. Turn off notifications. Close Facebook. And this is all working against you. Okay? They've got algorithms in place so that you're addicted to them. Close Lightroom. No, seriously, close Lightroom.
And Photo Mechanic.
And Photo Mechanic. This should be the only program running. Okay? No culling, no editing, no email, no kids fighting for your attention. Okay? For those 2 to 3 hours per week, disconnect from your other roles.
Yeah.
Okay? Give yourself the time and the space to actually do this.
Yeah. And if that rule doesn't apply to you, on to rule number 3. Check your ego at the door. Don't worry. It'll be waiting there for you when you're done the session. Okay.
That's true.
And by ego here, I don't mean your sense of self. Okay. That's kind of important. By ego, I mean all your preconceptions about this course, about photography, about weddings, about Erica and me, and most importantly, about yourself, whether positive or negative. Because if you're not in a place to hear the message, you can't hear it. Real growth, real development, real change has 2 enemies: complacency, and you're not complacent because you're here, and fear. And what's our biggest fear?
Mhm.
Failure.
Yeah. And we're going to ask you to do many, many things that you might not be comfortable with. Okay? You're going to fail. There's going to be lots of failing, but this is like the perfect place to fail, right? And failure is not fatal. It's actually critical. It's at least critical to our creative process. So embrace it. And don't think of anything you do within this course as winning or losing or even creating. Just think of it as making. Making. That's all you're doing. You're not making anything concrete. You're just practicing the process of making and experimenting. And with that is going to come growth.
Okay, next up, don't should on me. We are going to try not to use the word should.
Try. But we will. We'll probably even tell you how you should think.
Yeah, but think of everything in this whole course as a smorgasbord of ideas, because there's no one way, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Okay, just pick and choose what resonates with you and apply it to your photography and your business, however it feels right to you. Okay, so it's like an idea buffet. Taste it, chew on it, swallow if you like. Okay, but don't should on me. Rule number 6, soak this up. Opportunities like this don't come along every day. We are going to pour every last drop of ourselves into this for you guys. Make the most of it, because that's all it can be, what you make of it. Okay, so what's this course all about anyways? The best way to explain what it is to explain what it's not, okay? It's not about us and our photography, okay? It's about you, your photography, your career, your journey as an artist.
It's not about learning how to use your cameras. Okay. You guys can do that on YouTube for free or at your local camera store. This is about discovering new ways to see the world in your own unique way. Okay. It's not about creating great photos for your portfolio. I mean, you will, but if you've come here to do that solely, you've come to the wrong place. It's not a business class. Although we're going to share all our business mistakes with you guys like open books, but it's not a business focused course. For that, just type in how to transform your business and look in your spam folder. We want to transform your photography. We want to transform the way that you see the world. And that in turn may very well transform your business. And this is not a masterclass in technical bullshit, because you'll see that's just not really how our brains work. We're going to teach you the way our brains actually work. And don't worry, we're going to talk gear and f-stops and flash settings, but you're going to see that that stuff pales in comparison to the stuff that really matters and the stuff that really differentiates your work from other photographers' work.
And it's not a step-by-step how-to with guaranteed bookings, okay? Or guaranteed photos that look exactly like ours. Sorry, there's no magic pill. This is real life. It's complicated and it's nuanced. And we're taking you all the way down that rabbit hole. And it's not about the awesomeness of what we do and the awesomeness of our industry. This is about the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. You're going to see how the sausage is made, and it ain't pretty.
Not pretty.
Okay? We're going to be photographically exposed together. So brace yourself.
It's certainly not about how perfect our lives are and how you can get here too. Okay, we're going to burst that bubble, and you're going to probably see us get into several domestic disputes on camera.
If you're lucky. Okay, so that's what this course is not. So what is it? Ultimately, it's about change in perspective. And that change doesn't have to be an entire paradigm shift. Okay, even just a slight tiny shift in your perspective can entirely alter the trajectory of your art, your career, your life maybe. Okay, and this change is going to come in 3 forms. And so we've designed the course with these 3 principles in mind, from least important to most important. We're going to teach you some skills, all right? Some mad skills. But that's only going to take you so far.
More importantly than skills, we want to teach you how to see and think differently. Or even better, to see how you see the world, how you uniquely see the world differently than the person sitting next to you, right? Because our clients don't hire us because we know how to use our cameras. They think they're hiring us for that reason, but that's not why they hire us. They hire us for the unique way that we see the world. And most importantly, recognizing and understanding the changes that we need to make as photographers in order to make better photos, in order to make better art. And these changes can be so much bigger than actual photography, than actually learning how to use our cameras or our flash settings. One of the things that Lanny and I realized was holding us back pretty early on in our career as photographers was our connection with clients. And we were sort of on opposite sides of the spectrum here. So Lanny was way over here on this side of the spectrum where he wasn't connecting with clients at all because he was always so preoccupied and focused on making that next most epic shot. And so he was making these lifeless representations of ideas, these beautiful photos, but they didn't have any soul to them. All right, so he had to sort of come more into the center of that spectrum and connect more with clients. Where I was over here on the opposite side of the spectrum, where I was connecting so much with clients that I was partaking in moments instead of photographing moments. So I had to connect less and come to the center in order to make better art. So these changes are going to be completely unique to you, and they can be so much bigger than actual photography.
And they're impossible to change until you recognize
Until
it.
you recognize
it wasn't
them, yeah.
until we realized, this is, and it might be something that's awesome about you in life, but it's hindering you or holding you back in photography.
Yeah.
And so these more introspective self-discoveries won't, necessarily be found so much in the actual video sessions themselves as in the assignments, right? And the time, the self-reflection.
Yeah, which is actually going to start right now. So in your notebook, I want you to write down something. One thing, maybe a couple things. Something that's holding you back as a photographer, okay? And it might be something really specific, like I can't figure out how to use my fucking transmitter, okay? Or it could be something more general, like I'm bored, I'm complacent, I'm lazy. It might be something technical, okay? Or it might be something more personal, like I'm anxious at weddings, or I always fall into my safe zone. Whatever you come up with, write it down. What is holding you back from making better art at this moment?
And if you can't think of anything right now, that's okay. But as we go through the course and you start to see these new blind spots appearing, come back to this page in your book and write those things down, okay? Because those are the light bulbs that change everything. So the transformation is going to come in those 3 forms: mad skills, seeing and thinking differently, and unshackling of yourself. In terms of your time, I'd plan for 2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours, yeah.
2 to 3 hours of active viewing, note-taking, and photographing per week, right?
Yeah. And with that, Make sure you schedule this time in, like in your actual calendar. Make sure it's distraction free. We recommend that you watch all these chapters in sequential order because there's a method to our madness.
Yeah. Watching them out of order would kind of be like watching The Rise of Skywalker before The Force Awakens. Okay, so we put a lot of thought and intention into the arc of this journey so that things unfold logically and progressively for you. And also try not to skip any of the sessions. Okay, this would be like leaving the theater to go to the bathroom during a major plot twist. Okay, the sessions aren't really designed to be standalone.
No.
Okay, they're built upon the foundation of each of the sessions before them, and they lay down a foundation for everything that's coming after them. Okay, so it's all interconnected, but in a way that only really makes sense when you unpack it in the right order.
Okay, so one of the other cool things about this journey you're on is there's a group of very like-minded photographers from all over the world right now, and they're setting sail on this journey at the same time as you. And you're all in an online community together. Okay, it's a Facebook group. And we're going to make that community during the duration of this course as valuable as possible for you. Lanny and I will be hosting bi-weekly Q&A sessions in there. So whenever a question comes up when you're watching the material, make sure you write that down. Write it down. Maybe have a page in your notebook just reserved for questions. And we will answer them directly during these bi-weekly Q&As, which we're going to try and do live at a time of day that meets everybody's time zone restrictions.
But we'll keep them up there for a while. You know, so if you do slip behind in the you know, the schedule of things a little bit, that's totally okay. But keeping on pace will
With the
allow you to
group.
be relevant to the content and the questions that we're addressing.
Yeah, exactly.
So the video sessions, the Facebook group, the live Q&As, and the homework. Every week, we'll have some sort of homework assignment for you. And it's always optional, of course. Can't force you to do anything. But we strongly encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities to practice what you're learning. To hear something is one thing. To hear it and write it down is another. To hear it, write it down, and see it, even better. But the Holy Grail is when you receive all of that and then go out and do it. And so that's where the homework assignments are going to come in. And don't worry, they're not going to be super onerous, just as straightforward and practical as possible. In terms of how we structured the course, it's basically centered around the 3 pillars that your success is balancing upon: art, craft, and industry. Art being the uniqueness you bring to your photography and your business. Okay, and this is the hardest of the 3 to teach. But if you can learn it, and you can, then we can teach it. So we're going to try.
We're going to try. Yeah. And then there's the craft. Okay. For photographers, this is all about transferring that art, right? That uniqueness that we each have into a 2x3 rectangular frame. Okay? It's using your skills, it's using your know-how, it's using your tools to take what's in your brain and transfer it into an actual photograph. Okay. And then the last is industry. And for photographers, this is all about surviving in a volatile field that's constantly evolving, constantly innovating, constantly changing. And it's about how we put ourselves out there as artists and business people and service people.
Yeah. And where art and craft are about the products that we deliver for our clients, industry is about the experience we deliver our clients.
But it's also about the product too. There's all these
That's
gray
true.
lines.
It's all
between
interconnected,
them.
right?
Yeah.
It's hard to separate these things, but they're all interconnected. But really, everything that you're going to hear from us throughout these next 14 weeks will relate to 1, 2, or 3 of those pillars.
Okay, here we go. Let's zoom out and take a 10,000-foot view of what you're in for. We're going to start by showing you the good and the bad and the ugly of who we are and what's brought us here in these chairs today. Then we're basically going to take you inside our brains and break down our whole approach to wedding photography, why we do it the way we do. And that's going to provide context and foundation for everything to come in the rest of the course. So it's really important that you watch that stuff.
And so if that's the why, we do what we do. Then we're going to move into the how. How we take everything up here and everything in here and express it through our cameras. The tools and techniques that we use to get the job done. So we'll show you everything inside our camera bag and why it's in there, as well as how and why we set up our cameras the way that we do. Then we're going to dive in to the rabbit hole of light, how we use natural light, how we create manufactured light, right from the fundamentals all the way up to the downright ridiculous. Then we'll start to get into our technical bag of tricks and image deconstruction, where we're going to reverse engineer all kinds of photos for you and show you how we pull them off out in the real world. Then we're going to take you behind the scenes with us at a real wedding, so you can see what everything actually looks like at an actual wedding behind the scenes, including every single frame that we make, unedited, uncalled. And we'll explain our strategy for every part of the wedding, from the bride prep and groom prep, to the ceremony, to portraits, to family formals, bridal party, to the reception, to the dance floor, including all of our lighting setups.
That's basically the art and craft of it all, and everything that takes place during an actual wedding itself. Then we're going to switch gears a little, and we're going to show you everything else, how we put everything into play in the industry, right? Everything that takes place before the wedding, everything that takes place after the wedding, and we're going to take you through our entire client experience from the first time someone lands on our website to the final delivery of images, and break down that entire workflow piece by piece for you, including the post-production magic. And then finally, we're going to bring it all back around to the life-breathing force behind what we do with our cameras, which is creativity itself, and a whole bunch of twists and turns and surprises along the way.
So there you have it, guys. That's the framework for what we hope can be a transformative experience.
And the value you get from this, of course, is dependent on your commitment to do the work. And at times it will be intense. At times it'll be technical. At times it will be personal. At times it will be completely uncomfortable. And at times you'll be excited beyond words. And at times, just know, at times you're going to feel like quitting. Okay? Just welcome all those feelings. They're part of this journey.
Guys, we're so stoked for you. We'll see you back here soon for the next session of Two Man You,
Where you're going to see the real Annie and Erica. We've got some bubbles to burst.
what we're really like. All right.
Oh!
Really good one.
The water went down my back. I was going to punch you there.
Microphone.